It is Friday the 13th of March. We are in the pub and it's time for a long overdue Cat's Whiskers podcast. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you happen to be listening. Thank you very much for...
Or if you're doing a 10k run.
Yeah, or if you're doing a 10k run. We've been asked if we can get a podcast that's roughly an hour and 10 minutes so that Kay can do a 10k run to us. So we'll do our best, Kay. We've got a lot to talk about, so it's entirely possible. Anyway, as I was saying...
10k run.
Yeah, good luck. Yes, and I've completely forgotten what I was going to say, and we're only at the intro.
Not my fault.
It's totally your fault. So, we've got a lot to go through. We've got an agenda that is an agenda in inverted commas that is fairly lengthy. However, who knows how much of this we're actually going to get to? So let's crack on. We'll start at the top, work our way down, and we'll dial ourselves all the way back to the Belfast Giants weekend. Sorry, I've even forgotten to introduce who's here. Hello, Ant.
Hey.
Hello, Paul.
Hello.
And hello, Adam.
Hello.
Right, there we go. Now we can get started. Let's cast our minds back all the way to the...
Do I need to cut that bit, put that bit at the beginning, and then we go back to where we are?
No, it's fine. No, it's fine. Just, yeah. We are winging it, my friend. Okay, so, Giants weekend. Let's cast our minds back. So, first thing to note about said Giants doubleheader at home at the Motorpoint Arena on the 14th and 15th of February. What we did say on the previous podcast is that nothing less than 2 regulation wins for Panthers would be enough, and we didn't manage it. So I think at that point, if we hadn't already started to feel that way, I think there was a definite feeling that the league title might just be beyond us. Anybody else want to come in on that? Go on.
I totally shared that belief about 2 regulation wins being needed, and I think from that point onwards it became sort of like real in my head that we were probably not destined to win the league this year. But you know, I don't want to sort of say we've had a great season and those defeats didn't really matter, because it felt like we've been part of the conversation about the league title for so long, and you know, we've gone past Christmas thinking that we stood a chance of winning the league, and you know, how many years recently have we been able to say that? So I suppose we did well in that respect, but yeah, it did feel a bit sort of like a psychological blow that we didn't get those 2 wins, and we couldn't really put more pressure on Belfast. Don't get me wrong, I thought we played hard in both games. It wasn't like we didn't show up for one of the games or both of the games. I thought we were there for both games, we were present. But, you know, sometimes you've just got to doff your cap and say that, you know, when you come up against another really, really good team and they win, you know, they deserve it. So, I mean, we salvaged something from the weekend. And interestingly, you know, look, hypothetically, if Sheffield did us a favour and won both games against Belfast this coming weekend in regulation...
That certainly makes things interesting.
It really does make things interesting all over again. So, and it's very, very rare that I say this, but come on, Sheffield.
Adam feels like he needs to go for a bath right now, I think, and a shower to follow it up. But yeah, it certainly does make things interesting. I mean, I made notes sort of akin to what you said, Adam, about both games being, you know, pretty tight, very competitive, and I don't think that, you know, other than being disappointed about the loss on the first day, I don't think we can be too disappointed with the results. Yeah, we can't grumble about the results too much, because I think that's probably an adequate reflection of how that weekend ended up. Okay. Well, let's pop a bit further down through February. I'm going to come back to the next game, because obviously that was the Challenge Cup game. So we'll hang on and come back to that. So we've actually got a bit of a raft of games that I didn't see. I have various commitments that I could not be there for. So we've got the away loss to the Storm, shootout win at home to the Devils. The sort of the bookended by those two Challenge Cup semi-final games. A couple of notes I've sort of made on there. One thing I do just want to have a little point out. That Devils shootout win, we scored all 3 of our penalty shots. Now, when does that ever happen? Because I've seen enough penalty shootouts where nobody scores for ages and ages, and it goes to sudden death, and then all of a sudden, somebody pops one through. Go on, Paul, you're pointing at me.
It happens a bit further down this list.
Well, exactly. So we're having some success in shootouts, but the problem is with that one, obviously the Devils, another title contender, or another top half of the table, which we could have done without giving points to.
Can I just say, in terms of penalty shootouts, we are so Marmite. We are either brilliant or we are garbage. There is no in between whatsoever. So, we've seen the better end of the scale in the last couple.
I'll be honest, for me, the one thing from that Cardiff penalty shootout was not only did Joey Martin miss, but Christoph Kontos missed a penalty. Has that ever happened before?
Well, it's a long way down. It's a long fall, isn't it?
It was like as soon as Kontos had missed and then Joey Martin missed, it was like, well, who else have they got left? And then Riley Brandt stepped up, and it was like, yeah, we've won. Although to be fair to him, he's actually had a pretty good season. I don't like to doff my cap to someone like him because I can't stand the wee fella. But he's been great under Tomo. I think he's a Tomo player. We got our first 3. Kontos missed, Martin missed. I say, game's over.
Yeah, all done. The other thing,
did anyone notice that everything in the world went a bit weird after they missed their penalty shots? Globally, I think that's had some sort of knock-on effect. Because, world leaders have just lost their minds.
Kontos missed a penalty, right, for World War 7.
The other thing I did note, after being injured in the Continental Cup, that was Matt Martinu's first game back, and he scores. So demonstrating, just what we'd been missing, quite frankly, which I think we already knew, to be fair, because he's one of my top dogs this season, I have to say. I'm a massive Matt Martinu fan. I'm flying that flag for him. Right, as we've got the bookended games, as it were, let's turn our attention to the Challenge Cup. And one definitely unexpected result. Yes, I expected us to win at home, but did I expect us to shut the Steelers out? Absolutely not. So while I was busy watching that game via social media, I could not believe my eyes, and I had to take to our WhatsApp groups to actually verify what was going on. Go on, Paul.
You could almost say we scored all 3 goals and they didn't score any. Again.
Not a shootout, though, was it? But we did shut out the Steelers.
Well, they did. We shut them out. But, yeah, they don't like scoring in Challenge Cup semi-finals, do they?
I suppose it's back to being the Mickey Mouse Cup now for them. Did anybody watch those 2 Challenge Cup games? Because I was actually not present for either of them.
I watched the second game on the webcast. First game I went swimming. Even though I technically had a ticket with me all in, but no. Second game it went exactly the way you kind of thought it was gonna go, and the temptation to turn it off after the second period, just expecting the inevitable. It was. We're gonna have to talk about the donkey in the room. Is it the donkey in the room? Elephant in the room, thank you.
It can be a donkey, it depends where you're going with this, but go on.
The elephant in the room with the winning goal in overtime. And obviously Harris, who subsequently got suspended for throwing his stick in the direction of an official, even though, in my opinion, and the opinion of quite a lot of people, we should have been on the power play before that, for the slash on Harris, which caused him to lose his rag. But still, nothing was called on the night other than a 2-minute misconduct. And then he's on the ice for overtime, sets up the winner for my boy Limos. I can understand being a Sheffield fan. Actually, no, I can't understand being a Sheffield fan. But put yourself in there. No, I don't even want to put myself in their shoes. How can I do this? You can, yeah, I get why they're upset.
Yeah.
I just don't care.
Yeah.
I totally agree with what I'm saying, but all I would do is counter that by saying if the refs and the officials had done their job, then Harris wouldn't have been on the ice.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Well, he would have been. We would have been on the power play,
Yeah.
and he wouldn't have lobbed his stick in the direction of the official.
No, but here's the thing, though. We know this to be like a universal unwritten rule in hockey that the retaliation will always get called. So Ant's right. What the slash probably should have been called in the first place, and then Harris's retaliation should also probably have been called. And Harris, and if it was as severe as a 3-game ban, warrants it to be, then surely there should have been more called on the ice on the night. So there's a lot to unpack from that. But I mean, just for my opinion, I mean, I've watched the highlights, obviously. I don't have any complaints about the ban that Harris subsequently got, personally. I think that, you can review things, you can look at things retrospectively and just say, actually, yeah, that's not on. And you do have to...
Expected to come from him, though,
was,
as
yeah,
well,
very
wasn't
much
it?
so.
Because if you look at him on the ice, when things are scuffling and whatever, he's not like the one that's always involved in it and everything. I think he was. There was frustration, and you'd like to think he didn't actually throw his stick. It was kind of like gesturing, and his stick came out of his arm, sort of thing. But he deserved. Like you're quite rightly, he deserved his ban, just like that Sheffield player did a few seasons before when he cross-checked the referee and cross-checked the linesman in the face at the opposite corner.
he's clearly trying out for the javelin team at the next Olympics. Getting a bit of early practice in.
More caber tossing than.
Yeah, I mean, basically, in all seriousness, what it boils down to is protection of the referees, and I completely wholeheartedly understand that. Whatever Harris's intentions, and only Brendan Harris knows his intentions. There was frustration directed at the referee, whether or not the stick was directed at the referee.
I mean, we get as frustrated as pretty much the entire fan base at some of the officiating. You just have to look at like tonight. In particular, the third period, when they just didn't seem to want to call anything until it all kicked off between Fossier and Hunt. But it is what it is. I mean, we've kind of lived with that in the league for so long, and I know there's some people that pick on one particular ref. I'm not going to name him because it's not fair, but I go back to the days of the frustrations that we had with a certain A. Carson and stuff like that. We're long enough in the tooth to have seen some pretty poor officiating. But that's why I miss the likes of Dean Smith, because he'd have a bad game, but he'd be bad for both teams, if you know what I mean. And it would make for a more entertaining game, because people would lose their rag. And
Good dancer as well.
Yeah.
He's graced the floor just to our left in bunkers many a time at playoff finals weekend.
And look, I'm hoping he pops in one year when we've got karaoke on, because me and him were doing an impromptu karaoke back end of playoffs a couple of years ago. Sorry, Paul, you had something you wanted to jump in on.
No, I've just got a little fact for you.
Go on, I'm intrigued.
You are, right. Talking about, going back to the game, the Sheffield game, and talking about the overtime. The last two instances of overtime, I forget when the other one was, the Sam Hare one.
Yes.
And this one, between them, lasted 59 seconds. And you know how many times the Sheffield Steelers touched the puck in those 59 seconds?
Oh, I can't wait for this.
None.
technically, well, I suppose they did slightly afterwards, was they were picking the puck out the net.
Stopped at that point, so it don't matter.
Yeah, no, that doesn't count.
That old phrase, possession is 9/10 of the law.
Yeah.
It's 10/10 of the law.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the results speak for themselves, don't they?
I just go back to the Brendan Harris issue. Is I would say he's a very cerebral player in that, we don't really see a lot from him in terms of emotion, or he's not sort of a...
No, I disagree. That man is one of the happiest men on the whole planet. I've not seen a smile that wide since we signed Kevin Moore.
Yeah. I suppose what I'm trying to say, and I maybe use the wrong word in cerebral, is that it takes a lot to rile somebody like Harris.
Oh, yeah.
So the fact that he reacted the way he reacted there, look, I mean, you can argue... Oh, Harris? Oh, right, he's got, look, I've got hair envy, but then I've got no hair. So anyone with hair, I've got hair envy for. But
what say you, Paul? As you're busy just stroking your lush head of hair.
I think that says it all, really.
Anyway.
It's me a bit facially and with the hair at Benedict. I think I might have said this on a previous podcast, but just to look at, if you just look from the head upwards, I think they're quite similar. But,
he's a very happy character, and he looks like he's really good for morale in the locker room, and every team needs players like that. But yeah, I just want to sort of like make the point to say it must have been something bad to really irk him and get under his skin the way he did for him to react the way he did. And we can argue about the rights and the wrongs of what he actually did, and I'm sure there'll be people, wanting more games banned, and there'll be people saying no, the ban was a bit too harsh. But there are some players out there that just want to play a good game of hockey, and if they feel that they've been wronged because someone's had a stick infraction against them that's not been called, I get it. I sort of understand why Harris was as frustrated as he was.
I would say so. Just while I've sort of been scrolling down the notes and everything, just one thing I wanted to just have a quick discussion about. So obviously, the other side of the Continental Cup run, we've obviously lost a bit of ground. We've taken one of those losses against Belfast on the home double, and in that time, because I've made a note of who's played, who's not played, etc., etc., and the one name that repeatedly obviously has come up is Jared Hildeman.
Yeah.
I've discussed this with the guys I sit with in the arena on like odd little occasions here and there. When we were having our run where we weren't doing so well, I don't see. I mean, obviously, I'm not the coach, so maybe I should phrase this better. But I don't see why we didn't give Hildeman a go, because there were some other players who could have done with a wake up healthy scratch. Yeah. I think specifically on our defensive lines, I think there was a little bit of complacency, perhaps, or just a couple of them were like in a bit of a trough. You do get players that do have peaks and troughs, and I just feel like it could have, putting Hildeman in the lineup a bit more often could maybe have shaken a few people out of their funk.
All I'll say about that, and I'll be very swift and prompt with it, because I realised I was talking a lot about the Harris situation, is if you're going to carry an extra import, you might as well, as a coach, make full use of that import by bringing them in and out of the lineup. Otherwise, what's the point of having an extra? Because they're in the stand, unless Hildeman's been carrying a knock or an injury, and the coach hasn't wanted to gamble it with his fitness or health. We don't know that. We're not privy to that information. But I totally agree with you, Tina. I think there needed to be a little bit more fluidity with the use of Hildeman into the roster, just to keep things fresh and to send a message to the rest of the Blue Liners that you've got to stay at the top of your game, because we are going for a league title. We need to be as competitive as we possibly can.
That doesn't seem to work in this league, though. We're going as far back as Nick Toney's, David Alexandra Beauregard, who were brought in, were ended up eventually as the extra import. So it just doesn't seem to work like that. And anyway, I think, to be honest, if you look at it, we are better with Stridsberg in the lineup than Hildeman.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's just like when Stridsberg first came in, he played early doors because of injuries and stuff at the time, but then he spent a few games on the bench. and Hildeman, rightly took his place. But like Stridsberg, since then he's earned his spot back in the lineup. I kind of agree with what Adam's saying. I'm a big fan of like keeping your players fresh and what have you. And I did wonder whether tonight what might have been a game to maybe play Martelli. That's a bit disrespectful towards Fife maybe, but seeing that they were a few down anyway, you could have probably had him as a third D-man pair and just let's have a look at him, see what he's got. But going back to the Hildeman situation, it's like to counterbalance that, is it not more about keeping those partnerships going? And now we had a 4-point weekend finally, first one since the Continental Cup, I think it was last weekend. Terrific performance on the Sunday against Coventry in particular. But is it not about keeping those partnerships going now in the lead up to the cup final, in the close down towards the end of the season? I think maybe in the league, if the league is officially gone, I think then you'll see a bit of rotation. But until it is, and till we're still going on, maybe you stick with those partnerships. You could, I think. He'll probably go over to Belfast with the rest of the squad, I would have thought. And it wouldn't surprise me to see him get at least one of the games over in Belfast. But we'll see what happens.
Especially if we lose the first game of those two. Yeah. Which I really hope doesn't happen.
Fingers crossed. I mean, again, we're not talking about that. We've still got a couple of weeks before we do go over to Belfast, but we already have to set our sights on 4 points and denying Belfast any points and hoping that somebody else around the league can do us some favours.
We've got to make it hard for them. Just keep them honest, keep them on their toes. That's all we can do. We've dropped away a little bit after the Continental Cup. Belfast hit the straps and went on an amazing run of form. All we can do is just keep nipping away at their heels, as everyone else needs to do at the top, to keep the league as competitive as possible and to take that league title as deep as possible.
Okay, we'll just return to the notes then.
We've got a couple of pretty big games before Belfast. Cardiff away on Sunday is going to be an absolute barn burner again. You'd expect it's going to need a performance similar to the one that made us qualify for that knockout game in the Challenge Cup when we thought we were out of the cup. And then we went to Belfast, we went to Cardiff, we went to Sheffield and won both games. We need to see those sorts of performances again. We've got the Sheffield double-header the weekend after. We've got... It's some huge games coming up. We've got a horrible run-in, if you think about it, compared to the other teams. But just give us the best.
I'm just wondering about how the team will react if thinking about the Cardiff game on Sunday, if Sheffield do us a favour and beat Belfast on Saturday, how are we going to go into that game on Sunday? Because there's a bit
exactly the same, I think.
That's not Sheffield doing us a favour, that's Sheffield doing themselves a favour, because they're in this title race as well, don't forget. This is why I want to come in when you were saying earlier. I don't want Sheffield to get both wins. 2 points each. I don't want a 3-point split for both teams. 2 points each, and for me that'll do, because I know Belfast have got a game in hand on us, but we're 6 points behind them now. So 2 points. But we have to keep winning. I think for me more than anything else, we have to forget about what's going on elsewhere. Obviously, hope for the best and hope Belfast and Sheffield slip up. But I don't think we can afford Sheffield to win both games either, because if they then go on a run themselves, we need to catch them up. So
I'm just thinking from a psychological point of view, what is Danny telling the players at the moment? Is he trying to sort of enable them to play with freedom by saying, look guys, let's just keep winning games and see where we end up? Or does Danny tell the players that, hey guys, come on, I think that you can win all these games and we have to win all these games because we've got to push Belfast and Sheffield as hard as we possibly can? I don't know. I really don't know. It's a shame in some ways that we're in this position, because I felt like we were in a great position when we won the Continental Cup in terms of the...
We
terms of the domestic league situation, we were in a really good place. And, I know we haven't really had many podcasts since then, but I've had some sort of private thoughts since then that I just wish that, I don't know, I know that the market is fairly dry in terms of high calibre, high quality players out there, but I just felt we needed a really high calibre forward to come in, to really make an impact, hit the ground running, and almost be a sort of a, not a wake-up call for our players, but almost a shot across the bows to the other teams that are going for this title. Yeah.
Reached the squad size, haven't we? So you would have had to have released somebody, or somebody would have had to. It's a pity if Alfaro is out for the rest of the season that it came a week too late for us to be able to sign somebody. You know what I mean? But
no, I mean the one thing I will say about this is I wasn't thinking that we needed to bring anybody else in, because quite frankly I think we have got the players who are capable of going on a run, of going ahead and scoring and doing what needs to be done. I just think that there were too many of them that hit a trough at the wrong time.
What I would say in response to that, I still agree with you. I do agree with that. But if you look at our games, a lot of our wins, certainly since Christmas, have been very sort of tight, edgy games where we've had to play hard for 60 minutes or beyond when they've gone to overtime and penalty shootout in some instances. And I look at other teams at the top and I don't see them having to work quite as hard as we've had to work to win games. And I wonder whether, and I don't know the answer to this question, I'm sort of posing this maybe to Paul and to yourself and to Anne, do we have the firepower amongst our forwards to really put other teams to the sword, which, if you're 5-1 up, 4-0 up after two periods, like tonight, for example, we were 6-0 up against Fife after 40 minutes, we were able to sort of go down the gears a little bit and manage the game with Sunday in mind. Other teams seem to be able to, have that firepower and, get a more sort of unassailable advantage over other teams. And I'm just quite envious of that, because it seems like we have to work bloody hard to get any sort of advantage over any team in this league.
Well, I just want to point out one thing. I think it was Paul that said it earlier in our WhatsApp group, that they're trying to be too fancy about the goals. I'm probably paraphrasing, Paul. Was that you, Anne? Sorry, I knew it was one of you. I knew it was somebody that was going to be on this podcast.
We were trying to. It was like watching the Arsenal side of old. They were trying to score the perfect goal every time, and it's like you just saw from that the sixth goal where you just work a power play simply and you get the keeper out of position, you tap it in at the back post.
Yeah, God bless Matty Marcinho.
But yeah, it's just, don't get me wrong, that third goal was a beautiful move and what have you, a great bit of skill from Doherty, but yeah, it was frustrating tonight. Like I say, it just seemed to be one pass too many when, just take the shot. I mean, I've said this before, I think if you look at, say, a Sheffield or a Cardiff or a Belfast, they would have put Fife to the sword tonight based on those first two periods. They'd have been... That
would have been a 8-9-0 game.
And I just don't think... That's the one thing I think we lack, is that killer instinct. To proper finish teams off and what have you. And I think we just got a bit lax towards the end, and Fife got a couple of scrappy goals. It is what it is. We still got the 2 points, which is the most important thing. Yeah.
So, just return to the rundown of the games again. So where we got to was 28th of February at home to Storm, and similarly to the Cardiff game where we were a couple of goals up and seemed fairly comfortable, we let Storm back in the game and they forced us to overtime, and I've sort of written it down that there was an incident in overtime that led to our goal. Now at the time I kind of missed it, but I kind of thought that it might have been a collision between two Storm players. But in actual fact, it's a collision between two Storm players and Jean-Paul Garat. So, I mean, Storm were absolutely apoplectic when that goal, when we scored, because essentially it was almost a 3-on-1. For us, steaming in towards the Storm goalie, and and it was lovely because we'd had. I felt like that game was very tense. I felt it was very. The atmosphere was really flat as well, which didn't help. And I felt like there was just this collective sigh of relief when Chase Pearson actually scored. So that game was it was less of a problem because you're giving a point to somebody who's not really in the title chase, which is fine, I suppose. But again, that sort of speaks to what Ant was saying about us lacking the killer instinct. And just the one thing I want to throw into that whole discussion as well. We are quite efficient. And what I mean by that is we might not have a lot of shots, but we score a fair amount of goals with that smaller amount of shots. So
is that XG? Is that what that's classed on or something like that? I don't know. Fancy new terms for stats.
I don't know. I don't have fancy new terms for stats. I have got an Excel spreadsheet, my friend. I have not got into databases and fancy, whatever else is going on in the world of analysis.
Let's not get into the world of XG. It's a very, very murky world, and there are many people that would wish to take down the validity of XG and all that it stands for. And as someone that's seen it used and applied quite religiously in football, some of the outputs are dubious at best.
Well, we'll leave that there then, shall we? So anyway, we'll move on to... Well, I say we'll move on to the next game, but it was Flames away, and I know I didn't watch it, but did anybody else?
Skip.
so I mean...
It was terrible. I watched the stream, it was terrible. Mate, move on.
Well, I mean...
Can I just make a point here? Why are we finding it really difficult to play Guildford in the Spectrum?
Because it's the Spectrum.
Yeah, but we've had more success there in recent seasons. What is it about this season? Because, let's face it, Guildford, no disrespect and apologies to any Flames fans listening to this podcast.
I'm going to say, there's only three of them. They won't be listening.
And I know two of them.
There's three of them, and two of them run their own podcast.
But yeah, it just seems like we've got a bit of a mental complex when it comes to playing in that building this season. And
It's because it's a swimming pool.
It's always been a swimming pool. It's always been a.
But then we struggled against Dundee as well, both home and away. So it's not just Guildford that have been a bit of a bogey team for us this year. It happens, but it's also not us that have gone down to the Spectrum and find it hard to come away with anything. They've beaten everybody. It's just that they've not beaten everybody consistently enough. And they've lost games where you think, they're on a shoe-in here, and then they'll lose at home to Fife.
Look, I've not watched any of the games that we played down in Guildford this season, so I'm only sort of like making slightly lazy commentary about it because I've only seen the sort of outcomes of the games, but it just feels that maybe we could have done a little bit more down in Guildford, and I don't want to get into this sort of like what-if situation because the league's not lost yet.
I'll tell you where the answer lies, if you like. It's not that we've played poorly or Guildford have been better than us. We've just run into a hot goalie every time. We were the better. It was a bad game for us, but we were still the better team, and it happened, and it tends to happen there in particular. You look back like McAdam in previous seasons and what have you. And that's what's happened to us against Dundee. The games we've lost against Dundee, we've skated into a goalie who's just having the game of his life. At those points, you just have to go, what can you do other than do some Tomo tactics, maybe?
But on that topic, bringing it back to where it should be, I thought Cruz was poor against us the other week for Dundee, and we just made the most.
It was night and day, wasn't it, to his previous performance? But
yeah. Well, I mean that does sort of bring us on to the next game on the list, as it were. Yes, he does. So Alfaro went off injured in the Flame in the Spectrum. So God damn you, Guildford Spectrum. It was. Yeah, it was unusual because I think we all probably expected to come up against a good Dundee goalie. Now, one thing I do want to say about that game as well, that is a team not at ease with itself. That team is there's a cloud over them. and that includes the coach, because that was the first game in however many seasons that I have seen Mark Lefebvre come down to Nottingham where he has not engaged with the crowd behind him. He's normally good for some banter. He really is. Even if
he just looks fed up and drained, doesn't he?
Yeah, 100%.
It reminds me of, Corey to his later days when he was us, and you just look at him on the bench, and bless him, like he was at Glasgow this year. You just look and you go, what more can I do? I've tried everything. I'm just not getting the performances or the look, the rub of the green and what have you. It's a shame because he's a good character. I like him. I think he's a decent fella, but you do have to wonder whether he'll be back next season.
Can I just sort of mention there, and I think we may well have touched upon this a bit later on in the podcast, but
no, bring it in now. I know where you're going, but let's bring it in now.
Okay. With the change of ownership in Dundee, with the Ward family selling to the guy that owns the clan, obviously there may well be sort of a bit of a, I don't know, not an investigation, but there might well be a bit of fact-finding from the new owners of the clan. Although I think the Wards are still going to be officially owning the Stars until the end of the season. But I'd imagine that the guy that's now bought the Stars will be wanting to sort of like look across everything that's taking place at Dundee to see whether, they can make that organisation more effective and more leaner and, well, ultimately more winning. And I don't know, because sometimes you were saying that a coach sort of like runs out of road, runs out of ideas, they lose the motivation, they lose the enthusiasm. He's always been a very sort of passionate guy, with blood and thunder on the bench. And if that's been drummed out of him, I don't know whether he feels that he has no future left at the Dundee Stars. And it might be at the end of this year that he says, Dundee, it's been a blast. I've really enjoyed my time here, but I think the organisation might benefit from a different direction and some new thinking.
Well, I mean, yeah, I would be inclined to agree with you. However, it was pointed out to us earlier today in our WhatsApp group by our Belfast correspondent that he's also I don't know.
Now, it might be that I see some parallels here with maybe Omar Pasha, who was a coach. Like after he hung his skates up, well, he also is sort of like a player coach for a while, but it may well be that Lefebvre sort of transitions to just being a GM at Dundee and they bring somebody new and somebody fresh in behind the bench.
And I think that very much depends on financials and how the new owners want to organise that. If they want to streamline those two, if they want to separate those two responsibilities. And see if having dedicated, jobs for the GM and the coach might actually benefit them. But as I say, I think that might benefit on whether or not they can afford it.
Corey Nielsen's looking for work.
I mean, it's weird though, isn't it, with Dundee and Fife as well, because Fife obviously with the new ownership, maybe not a lot was expected of them in the first year, but I don't think anybody expected what a calamitous season it has been for them.
Well, let's sort of recap. Gareth Chalmers left, Craig Anderson left, their GM has left, Max Beerbry is no longer with the organisation. Who else? The coach has now left, so they're now being.
They've got an ex-rec player, I think, is on as their head coach at the moment. And then so at the start of the season, all those maybe expectation. Again, I don't think anybody was expecting Fife to be challenging for even a playoff spot this season, because it takes a lot to turn a club completely around just overnight. But I think they expected maybe a bit more and a bit less chaos. But then look how well Dundee started the season. At one point they were beating Belfast with their hands tied behind the back. You know what I mean? It was. And then they didn't even make the semi-finals of the Cup. And they've just gone off a cliff. So, I mean, I think, is this not the earliest that all 8 playoff places have been decided? Or certainly for the longest time. So it is a shame for them. And I hope, competitively, I hope they're better next season. Obviously not from a Panthers point of view, because I want us to be beating everybody. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what the summer brings us, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is as well, I mean, obviously it's a slightly different extreme, but just, look at the first two fairly calamitous coaches that Omar Pasha brought in. The first calamitous coach. I mean, I'm thinking of sort of like the hangover from from previous, but we've not had a good start. Omar Pasha did not have a good start, and then he sort of built from there. I was desperately hoping that Jonathan Paraday had come back and give us another go.
Commercially, Omar did do a lot of good from day one. I think commercially, I mean, you saw that the crowds were starting to drop pre him, and he's managed to turn. Well, it's obviously not just him. He's got a team working around him and what have you, but. Crowds are massively up now, to the point that we're selling out most games, and I think that you see the amount of sponsors coming in. We don't even have a main team sponsor now, because it's better for them to have multiple sponsors. As much as it irks us we've gone a bit Sheffield with the ice, but you just got to think about the money that they're bringing in to the club. So from a money aspect. And that's probably, we'll probably talk about season tickets in a bit, but it's probably why that, yes, our season tickets have gone up, and they've gone up a little bit more than I would have liked, but compared to some of the other teams, I don't think the rise is quite as bad as we maybe feared. And a lot of that's down to the success off the ice that Omar's headed up.
We've got a very watchable ice hockey team. And, OK, I was bemoaning the fact earlier that we don't sort of beat teams 7-8, 9-0 like maybe other teams at the top of the Elite League do sometimes, but a lot of the games, well, I'd say the vast majority of the games this year have been, really eminently enjoyable. And OK, they've been tighter than I would have liked, and I wish we'd blown a few teams away, but you can't really argue about the lack of entertainment. The one thing I would say is that the one thing that I do miss is the lack of physicality. But then, that's not just a Panthers thing. That's a league-wide thing. Tonight, for example, and I don't know whether we're going to talk about the game in more detail, but if ever there was a game where we needed somebody with a hard edge to go out there and absolutely no choice, a few Fife players, it was tonight.
Well, I mean, let's be right about this. It's one in particular. I mean, I'll just to, for completeness, I'll just quickly mention the game against the Clan, the 5-4 overtime win last weekend.
Hang on, where we were coasting, and then we just completely collapsed in the third period. That should not have gone to overtime.
Yes.
Quick, do you want another overtime fact?
Yeah, let's go on. Let's have it.
This is brought to you. This like the other one is brought to you by John O'Buller. So if you want to complain to him, not them. But that game against the Clan was our 21st overtime game this year. The nearest is the Clan with about 12 or 13.
Amazing.
So there you are.
I was thinking that earlier when we were talking about other stuff. You see our position in the table, and certainly at the start of the season, when other teams were winning in overtime or losing in overtime, we were getting it done in regulation, and so that's where a lot of our early points came from. And then it seems second half of the season we've needed that extra 5 minutes, or well, in some cases we've needed like 20 seconds. But hello, Limos.
Hello, Brian. Yes, so another frustrating one, I think, yeah, like you say, Anne. But again, we got the job done, and we gave a point to somebody who's not really a title challenger. So no harm, no foul, I suppose, from our perspective. I mean, Coventry might have something to say about that in our general direction, but that's your problem, guys. You're down towards the bottom of the table.
It's amazing how Clan have turned things around since the change of coach, though.
It took them a while to get there.
So, I mean, they could be an outside looking for the Final Four when it comes to playoffs. They're playing well enough, I think. We're kind of skipping ahead a bit, but I was going to say Manchester looking a little bit creaky now.
Well, Manchester for the longest time have been in fifth. With no chance of catching up fourth, and nobody having chance of catching them in fifth. But the guys in like 6th and 7th are starting to chip away and starting to creep up on them. So I think they should really be looking over their shoulder a little bit and just, recognising the precarious position they now find themselves in.
I know we mentioned it previously. Coventry were on such a run going in, and they know to go into to beat Belfast like they did to go in to make the cup final.
That was unexpected, wasn't it?
It was, it was, but it wasn't, because they were on such a good run of form and they were playing so well. And it all stemmed from that game where I think Kevin Moore had his tantrum and stormed off the ice shouting at the official. And then from that on, I think they were the form team for the longest time. You look at the table, they're in 8th. So how did that happen? They've lost a couple of games and dropped to 8.
That is sort of symptomatic of the fact that the bottom half of the table, well, take away Fife and Dundee, they've all really upped their competitiveness. And they have given teams at the top of the table some really good games and picked up some points. So, fair play. Look, we all want to see a really competitive Elite League, don't we? And I know we're all selfish in our view that we want Panthers to win every game, but we all know that's not possible and not realistic.
Not a thing.
So the second thing that we'd like is, well, if we can't win every single game, let's have a really close and competitive and good quality Elite League, where, you go into an evening or a night where you can't sort of say, oh, well, there are 5 games tonight, we can really clearly predict all 5 outcomes of them. So, and that's what we want.
I would like our predictions league to be an absolute headache for Ant, because I want a competitive elite league as well. I want there to be, and I've said this before, I want there to be minimal amounts of points between 1st and 10th. I want there to be jeopardy, and if you are in 10th, I want you to be a team that is frustrated because you don't feel like you deserve to be there, rather than Dundee and Fife, who know damn well that unfortunately that they do this season. So, I completely get what you're saying there.
Tonight, for example, Fife, they came to this building, they did not want to play ice hockey for me. They just came to try and spoil. I think they...
There's a couple of their players, yes, but during the period break, I was waxing lyrical about Des Prez. That man is just class.
And also, he's playing as a forward right now.
He was doing both tonight. And he's just so... there was a couple of times where he sort of played a pass and it was maybe not the pass that he should have played, and his teammate then miscontrolled it and we won the puck back. But the man he just looks so effortless for him. He reminds me a lot of Corey, to be fair, and that's probably as high a compliment as I can pay somebody. But you're right, there was a couple of players on their team who was just...
Because they've got nothing to play for anymore, I think they're just trying to make their own enjoyment. They're trying to make their own excitement. We're playing in front of a packed building, sold out crowd. Let's just get up to some antics and mess around a bit.
I'm going to call it out. What was with Garrett Hunt not wearing a T-shirt underneath his shirt today, with getting his wax chest, showing his wax chest off,
showing his lovely shiny chest off. Yeah.
Oh. Give it a break, man.
Well, let's bring it back to the conversation point before I sort of shoehorn the Clan game in there. So, because we've had a comment. Richard Davis, bless him, on Facebook, he has given us more agenda points than I actually put on the agenda. But yeah, one of the things he says, he's talking about toughness. Somebody to like you guys have said, somebody to go out there and no choice Garrett Hunt, because. I thought Fossier was going to do it at one point, but a bit like 12 people got in his way.
And on our WhatsApp group said, for God's sake, Foss, don't fight, Mitch.
It's not that I don't think he could hold his own. I just don't want him getting hurt this close towards the cup final and the end of the season in the playoffs.
Here's the funny thing as well. So when Garrett Hunt came back to the bench, obviously there was a few people, me included, giving him a bit of banter, and he turned around and said, "Oh, you guys want to see me fight? Come to Fife." And I was like,
"He doesn't fight in Fife."
I was like, there were various comments to him, and I said, have you seen petrol prices, mate? I'm not going up there for no reason. But I just thought that was a really odd comment to make. It's like, if you're gonna fight, then bloody do it.
In all honesty, though, I think the league needs players like him, and So at the start of the season, he came in, and I think he was trying to fight anybody that could move. And there's been a few times when I think he's got the wrong end of the referee's call because of the name on the back of his shirt. And I think this sort of second half of the season, he's had to take on more of a leadership role than he has because of the situation Fife have found them in. And yes, he'll chirp, and he'll moan, and he'll get his stick involved, and he'll try to put players off their game. But if somebody does go for him, 9 times out of 10, he'll quite happily retaliate. And I think it's nice to see that sort of player. For me, it's nice to see that sort of player still around. Then a lot of it's been taken out of the game now. A lot of fun's been taken out, and it is. I mean, look. He got a lot of the catcalls from the crowd tonight because of who he is. And like Lucic, he missed a check towards the end in the third period, and the whole crowd popped for it. And you're popping for it because these are the players. We've had him in the past. Look at Cam Jansen used to steamroll into. He missed more hits than he connected with. But we loved him for it because he brought the energy and what have you. And I'm not saying you have it like a Cam Jansen anymore. And I still maintain. I mean, I said it before the podcast. Garrett Hunt would have been a superstar for us.
Well, yeah. I mean,
and I think he would have been a bit of a folk hero.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, we could have been talking about, the stories of Garrett Hunt like we do the stories of David Ling potentially. I mean, I get that, but I mean, looking at the player he is now and what he seems to be trying to do with Fife, I look at him and I think I feel like we dodged a bullet, but maybe he was a different kind of player.
4 years down the line.
Yeah, exactly. And I get that, but as I say, looking at him now, I'm glad that when he decided to come back to the Elite League, that we weren't looking at him, quite frankly.
I mean, he wasn't the worst culprit on the ice. I thought Lucic was quite quiet tonight. I mean, the one penalty he got put in the box for, it shouldn't have even been him. It should have been there. It was number 26, who I thought he was a bit of a Richard all night. And there was a couple of them that were a bit Guildford-like. They were quite sticky off the play and what have you. And I think the Hunt penalty that he did get in the end, I think because he'd been chirping constant, I think the referees just got bored and just think, you know what, just go and sit down for 2 minutes. And then he didn't even get 2 minutes because we scored within seconds of the thing. Which brings me on to the question about our power play.
Yes.
Where's our power play gone? Power play was poor tonight. I thought, but then I think that led a lot to what we've already said. I think we tried to overplay the puck too much tonight. They were trying to look for the perfect goal. But then last weekend we had 2 short-handed goals, 2 even strength goals, followed by 2 power play goals. So the power play was working last week, and I think our power play actually might do quite well against Coventry.
Yeah. Well, our power play in general. Last time I did anything with my spreadsheet, it was sort of marvellously mid-table. So it's kind of in the middle, somewhere just above average.
I think tonight, Ant's right. The power play was dysfunctional. It wasn't firing, but tonight's game, he didn't really need the power play to be firing on all cylinders, because we were winning the game in other ways. We were always going to, to me, I don't want to sound disrespectful, but we were always going to win that game, even before face-off. You look at the probability, we're always going to win that game. The form that Fife are in, the form that we're in, we had enough quality all over the ice, in net, on the blue line, up front. So the power play wasn't sort of, the defining thing between ourselves and Fife tonight. We had more quality everywhere else. But, you want your power play to always fire. You want it to be always looking effective and sharp. So, if our power play is poor for another 2 or 3 games from now on, especially given the games that we've got coming up, that is going to be disappointing. So I get what I'm saying. You want your power play to be really, really sort of on point, game in, game out. Tonight was a blip. Okay, hopefully it's firing on all cylinders again on Sunday for Cardiff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite relaxed about it because I like you say tonight. I think there was a sense of I don't know. I can't quite pick the right word, but comfort. You know, there was a definite sort of, oh well, I think, you know, we're okay here. You know,
I think if that game had been tighter tonight, I think we would have challenged that first Fife goal.
Yeah,
so I think there was man in the crease, there was a bit of goalie interference. I think because it was 6-0 at the time, yes, it's disappointing for Carr not to get the shot out, but I mean, in the end, it worked out quite well for my fantasy league predictions. So as well.
Yeah, I think I got an extra point because of the second goal, so I'm quite pleased with that. But yeah, the other thing to consider, like just to finish off my point about that, if your power play is not firing, I mean, I can quite happily take that as long as the penalty kill's on point, and our penalty kill's not too shabby. So I'm not horrendously worried because, you know, I as long as we're stopping the goals going in, then you know we can.
We don't seem to take. I've probably broken it now, but we don't seem to take a lot of penalties.
No, we're not a heavily penalised team this season.
Well, you know, if you consider what Danny Stewart was like as a player, that's a little bit strange.
Well, again, I will say it. The first time ever Danny Stewart came into my consciousness was my first away trip up to Fife, and he lined up for a face-off, and up next to him lined up Stevie Lee, who proceeded to feed him his own lunch. That's the first time I came up against Danny Stewart for getting a 5-minute major for fighting.
Anyway,
so yes, right.
Plans on next season. Who stays and who goes? Who would you guys keep?
I think that's maybe go on. It's maybe a question for a later podcast.
I was going to say thank you ever so much for the question. Totally appreciated.
If you had to pick one.
Oh, if I had to pick one.
Well, this kind of ties into another question that we've had from Reece Williams. It says, "Who's player of the season as things stand?" And I think that kind of maybe builds in.
Can I sort of like give two quick answers to that? In response to the original question, like you said and Ant said, I think it's a little bit too soon because we've still got 3 trophies we could conceivably win between now and the end of the season. So, you know, there's still a lot of hockey to be played. There's going to be a lot of peaks and troughs. It's going to be a bit of a roller coaster. So we'll probably come back to that in a few weeks' time. In terms of who my player of the season is for Panthers this year, I would say Davy Noel. I think.
Damn you!
He's been absolutely brilliant, you know, and ironic that we were just talking about the power play not firing against Fife tonight. But, you know, Davy Noel has been a big part of the fact that our power play has fired so well and so consistently.
Oh, yeah, and that is, it's a very poignant phrase. So it's a very appropriate phrase because that man terrifies people. That slap shot is one of the most dangerous slap shots I've seen in a long time.
It terrified me when I was stood behind the plexi down at floor level at the Sky Dome a few weeks ago when he scored in overtime. I thought that was coming for my head.
It's a bit like that, the Mighty Ducks movies, isn't it? It was like the lad who's got the cracking shot, although he's not very good with his directional play. Bombay used to get him on just warming up, and then the opposition would look at him and go, "Oh well."
And no well.
Oh yeah, you know. I like that he's picked. Who's the question from? Richard Davies. I like that he's picked Lemos, my boy Lemos.
Yeah.
I struggle to pick one player at the moment.
I've got 2, but I mean, Adam's just nicked one of mine.
He's gone no. I suppose if we are picking one, I think Lemos is very much a. He's probably right up there for me because he pretty much does it all.
He's a big goal scorer, isn't he?
He's been a bit quiet recently, but I mean, he's picked up again. Obviously, scoring 2 tonight. He's obviously, put himself back into the consciousness.
Quick one-liner. I expected very, very little from Brian Lemos, and he is overperformed for me massively. He's over-delivered.
I expected him to bugger off home. At the first opportunity.
We're not playing in a swimming pool. It's all good.
Yeah, it's all good. So, but hang on.
I'm glad he's still here.
Well, yeah, absolutely. That line, that speedy line, it's a very well put together line. That is. So, Paul, I'm going to let you finish drinking that sip of beer. Who's your player of the season so far?
Who's my player of the season so far? It is. It's a really difficult question. It could be any one of a number of people, but it could not be anyone for a number of people because I could argue myself out of it. So I'm
You've got to pick one. I'm holding a gun to your head. You've got to pick one.
Switzerland. That's who I am.
Chinese bird if you don't.
No, please. Well, please. We'll have no assault. No assault on GBH at this table. Thank
If you
you.
don't pick one, I'm just going to assume you've just picked Lemos as well. So
Yeah, but you think you're going on a cruise? I'm going to say Noel.
Oh, here we go.
Which
Yeah.
will upset my kids greatly, but there you are.
Yeah.
Can I chuck in another one?
you've got one, and that's it.
Well,
You've had yours.
well, I'm going to say no. To be fair, I did say I've got two.
I would say Kevin Carr has been brilliant for us.
Well, I mean, I'll come back to another point on that actually, because, but I will just say you've stolen my boy David Noel, but also I could not have enough love for Matty Marcinho. I think that man is fantastic. Aside from the fact that every time he scores a goal, we get to see his dog, which is fantastic. Well, best goal scoring gif ever. You get to see you get to see a dog on the jumbotron.
Dog. It's not just his dog. It's the fact that halfway through it pricks his ears off.
And he's wearing a Panthers jersey.
I mean, Richard does. I mean, obviously he picked Lemos, but then he goes on about, Vulcan stepping up, obviously with.
Alfaro.
That's the one.
Yeah, the captain.
Yeah,
the guy's been leading the team this season.
He's got injured again, where he mentions that Armour's gone quiet, but then we've talked about this in previous podcasts where
We've talked about it today. There's peaks and troughs, isn't there?
a player will go quiet for a couple of weeks, and we'll go, well, maybe it's time for him to ride the pine a bit, so to speak, and then they'll bang in a hat-trick, the following game. So, it would not surprise me in the least if Armour gets at least a couple on Sunday against Cardiff.
Well, look, right, Ross Armour, as long as he is within 3 feet of the goal, there's always a possibility he's going to score.
He actually had a shot today from about 8 feet out.
Yeah, but he didn't score, though, did he?
No, and he didn't.
He didn't score. I mean, that would have been impressive, adding 3 feet to his, total scoring distance. Yeah. That would have been fantastic. Okay, so, well, I just wanted to return to this. So, Richard Davis, again, our honorary agenda writer. Carr has to be the number one now, surely. Now, yes, recently I think Kevin Carr has had more. He's had more starts, and he's proved he's good for them. But I think there has still been a certain amount of rotation. I think there's still been a certain amount of rotation amongst the goalies.
I think it's been one in one. They've been swapping everything.
Not quite. There have been a couple more for Kevin Carr recently, but yeah, generally speaking, yeah.
It's not that Grande's played poorly.
No, not at all.
And it's, don't get me wrong. Carr at the start of the season was like blooming heck. He deserves his, to keep his spot. They're both pretty good. It's been nice. It's been nice to see Kevin Carr a bit of resurgence for the old man. And it was great for him to come back. And we clearly signed him as the original plan was for him to pretty much back up Grande. But he's deserved to get the starts that he has done, and he's done really, really well. And you're happy to have them both in the running, I think.
I feel like we're in a very privileged position once again with goalies, and I think we've had that quite a lot just recently.
I don't think any of us expected Grande to come back to where he was last season. I mean, you look at his previous stats and what have you, and he was
much of a muchness, wasn't he?
Yeah. I mean, he's performed. Yeah. So he's doing what he needs to do. We'll.
Yeah, that's fair. Right, okay, guys, we are going to have a little chat because I think Adam definitely wanted this on the agenda.
Before we go on to season tickets, can we talk about the cup final?
Oh yeah, let's talk about the cup final. That'd be fun. Well, actually, I was going to leave that to talk to as like the last thing to talk about. But if you want to do it now, we can do it now.
I kind of want to because it's strange. I feel strange complaining about the fact that the cup final's been moved to Nottingham.
Yes.
Because obviously that's good for us, and as a Panthers fan, I want every advantage that we can get to win anything. It was the same with the Conti Cup. We benefited from us not having to play the semi-finals and hosting the final. I'm a lot actually PO'd with the way the league came out, with the crap communication around the whole thing. They said it clearly at the start of the season. League placing determines, or the group placing determines who would host the finals and what have you, and what have you. So, for them to then move the goalposts just because they don't want the final playing in Coventry, I think it's a bit, it's very rubbish. It's very, very rubbish.
Yeah, I mean, right.
Then on top of that, to just say to Panthers season ticket holders, you book your own seats, even if they're in the away end. It just makes no sense to me at all.
No, this has been an absolute cock-up from start to finish, and I'm sorry. I think this has been played all wrong. Yes, I agree with you. This Challenge Cup final, should either be in the Sky Dome or it should be in a neutral venue, right? There's no reason for it to be in Nottingham. That is absolutely ridiculous, right? And secondly, if you are going to have it in Nottingham, there is absolutely no way on this earth that the Nottingham Panthers fans should have had season ticket allocation honoured, right? Honestly,
I agreed with season ticket holders getting first dibs. No, I don't. But we should have had first dibs at getting tickets in the designated Panthers block.
Yes, sorry, that's what I mean.
For the Coventry season ticket holders, 100%. They should have had first dibs at the Coventry designated blocks. Yeah. And then it gets to the point. I know they've had to rush it because of the delays with the Coventry Belfast semi-final. And what have you. And then obviously they've changed their minds because they want an arena to host the final. I suppose they are putting it on telly now, aren't they? But I just don't understand why you couldn't have said, right, season ticket holders, you've got 48 hours to buy your seat. And then after that, they go on general
like playoffs.
Yeah,
this is exactly how it should. That's the blueprint that should have happened for this final.
You put the arena in half. So Coventry were initially given blocks 1 to 9 or whatever, and then Panthers are given 18 to say 19 to 13, and then you start from the corner and you fill towards the middle, and then when it gets to the point, and then after say another 48 hours, they then go on general sale, but then you still keep the Panthers fans together, so they kind of start to move around, because we know, with the greatest respect, we know Coventry aren't going to fill half of our arena, as much as they would like to, and maybe back in the days of when they were winning league titles, that might have been a possibility. But they're not there now, and I think to bring 1,400 is decent. But even that coming out, it's the biggest away following. It's not. They're supposed to be the home team. It's just, yeah. It stinks. I'm pleased for us as a Panthers fan. I'm very pleased, because there's no way we would have been able to get a ticket if it was held at the Sky Dome.
I mean, but here we are. We're talking about the Elite League. Surely we can't trust them to do anything, quite frankly. Who recalls when the draw was done on the ice in Sheffield,
out of a Sainsbury's carrier bag.
Out of a Sainsbury's carrier bag.
And they had 5 pucks in for the 4 teams.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. Well, they had 4 balls and a puck, or 4 pucks and a ball. One of which, basically, so they could get Sheffield and Nottingham to draw at. But no, this is all forgotten. Now that Sheffield have been knocked out by, who was it? Us. Yeah. And so basically, all the Sheffield fans are up in arms. This is terrible. This is awful.
The disappointing thing is just that the reaction to us as Panthers fans and us as an organisation. It's the Elite League that's done this.
There's
nothing.
It's no to do.
Right. So, and here's the thing that really is suspicious, right? The Elite League have put this statement out saying it's been agreed with the league, with all the clubs, right? Danny and Omar have both come out and said, we hate this. Yeah. Right? So who the hell agreed it?
They hate it. They hate it probably because they're being blamed by everybody. But basically, the Elite League want to make a few more quid. Yeah. And that's why it's at the arena.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it boils down to. It's all about money, because the Panthers are not getting anything for this event being held at the Motorpoint Arena. This is all going into the league coffers.
Nobody's listened to my suggestion. Play the game at Solihull, Hobbs Motoring. 500 tickets each. Job done.
In all seriousness.
No, well, in all seriousness, Paul Barmer's just gone home.
Why can they not? Why can they not see who makes the final out of all the qualified teams, and then pick a neutral venue.
And pick somebody else as a yes, exactly, 100%, 100%.
Yeah, it's such a shame. It's such a shame, and it's taken the shine off because we put ourselves in a very poor position in the Challenge Cup group, but then to go to Cardiff and win because we had to, go to Sheffield and win because we had to, play the playing game against Glasgow because we had to, shut Sheffield out here in the first leg of the semi-final, and then do it the hard way in overtime in the second leg. We've done it the hard way. We deserve to be in the final, and we're getting rubbish thrown at us because of the league's decision. And
somebody chucked a Coke can at me just outside walking into the bunkers.
Yeah. Are there any more? I mean, I'm looking forward to the game because if Coventry turn up like they were playing a couple of weeks ago, it's going to make for one hell of a final. And I was kind of hoping that it would be a cross between Jono and the Blaze commentary team on comms, and I think it's going to be. I understand Ken's not doing the announcing.
No. It's going to be Coventry bringing all their team. Scorch the Dragons are going to be. I'm sorry, we're a little bit distracted because Paul's just drawn our attention to something on the artist formerly known as Twitter. That apparently there's been a potential goalie fight up in Glasgow. Is this Glasgow? Yeah. So
well, they beat Devils, so
yeah. So if anybody wants to tag us in a clip of that, please feel free because we'd love to have a little watch of that. So anyway, back to the Challenge Cup final. This should not be as difficult as it has been made out to be. The Elite League have now made this difficult. The Elite League have now made it so as it's like you say, Anne. The shine has been taken off it, and we're having sewage slung at us because apparently it's our fault.
Yeah, it's almost like if Coventry win now, you couldn't even win it at home. If we win it, you only won it because you're at home.
Yeah, because you had home advantage, like every single playoffs, every single year.
Which hasn't been a thing until last year. For the longest time, but it is what it is. I mean, it should be a cracking game. It should be a really good atmosphere. I know I saw Scott Finley doing some AI in with like the donut sign, and it's changed it to dough carve and stuff like that. So I think they're going to make a thing of it. I suppose maybe it's almost going back to the old Wembley days in a bit. It's a decent travelling fan base coming up. So. The atmosphere should be good. I hope it's a really good game. I obviously hope we win with the least amount of drama as possible. Would be nice for the old ticker. But let's bring it on. This could be trophy number 2. Come on.
Yeah, most definitely. Okay, right. Let's round up with the last thing on the list then. So let's talk season tickets. So, there was a bit of a stink kicked up a couple of weeks ago when Cardiff announced their season ticket prices. Devils fans, you have my sympathies. I mean, that is one hell of an uplift.
We were actually talking before the game. We don't know whether we're going to actually make it to a Cardiff game next year, which is such a shame because it's one trip a year. It's normally one of the ones you book in. We have an overnighter, don't we? Have a good old shindig down in Cardiff. With the price of the tickets and obviously the scramble to get tickets alone, I think it's called Zara no end of.
Yes, the lady to our right hand side, our ticket fairy. She the many stresses you have had booking tickets for Cardiff and the upsets that has caused. Not that we've caused those upsets or anything, but it's a bit of a dogfight. Yeah, she's nodding.
Yeah, with the price of the day tickets now, it's just like they're trying to price themselves against a Premier League football team. Which, I get. I understand the reasoning behind it. It's like their fans want them to compete, so they need the money coming in. But where was this 3-4 years ago when they were winning the leagues back to back and they were doing cup doubles, playoff doubles and stuff like that? Was the rest of the league spending pennies?
I'm on record maybe on this podcast several times previously, to say Cardiff's biggest problem was a chronic lack of ambition. When they had the chance to build a new building, a new facility, they should have gone for something circa 4,500, 5,000. Because with half decent and competent marketing, they would have over 2 or 3 years filled that building week in, week out.
Well, here's the thing. The last 3 seasons, they have filled that building week in, week out. And people are just scrambling for tickets.
And they've dragged 10 emergency chairs out to up their capacity from 3,100 to 3,110. So there we go. You know, those 10
and I'm really glad that they've
chairs
decided that those 10 seats are viable now, because my spreadsheet looks a lot happier.
Yeah, exactly. But, you know, it's annoying. And, I mean, I was going to make a flippant comment about the fact that I've noticed a lot of people have put bodily organs up for sale in Cardiff over the last 2 weeks to be able to afford the season ticket charges next season. But it's, honestly, I feel sorry for Cardiff fans. And, yeah, that is very, very seldom said. It's a massive hike. It's a massive price hike. And I'm putting myself in the shoes of a Cardiff fan, and I'm thinking, if I'm trying to afford that sort of increase at this time, you know, with so much financial pressure and so much volatility in terms of like things that cost on a day-to-day basis, fuel, petrol, you know, mortgages, whatnot. It's really, really hard on a humanistic point of view on them to like have to spend and find so much money to be able to afford to buy their season ticket seat that they may well have had for several seasons previous to this season, for next season and beyond. So it's not fair. But then, you know, looking at our season ticket prices that were announced today, I can sort of accept that, you know, the increase is more limited than Cardiff's. Okay, nobody likes to see price rises, but, you know, I sort of accept that it's just the natural thing now that, you know, ticket prices will go up from season to season. Although I saw Manchester actually, I think, have held their season ticket prices for next season. So fair play to Manchester. You know, well done, Finity. You know, you're obviously doing something well if you can balance the budget and make sure that nobody needs to pay more for season tickets. But, you know, thoughts to Cardiff fans. It's not ideal, but like I said right at the start of this long monologue, the people that were in charge of Cardiff when that building was built, they should have pressed harder for a bigger facility.
It's dangerous, and I think we talked about this in previous podcasts as well. You look at Clan and Clan's season ticket, £700 for a Clan. You know, yes, I get they're the equivalent of our gold tickets in inverted commas, but
yes, but our gold seats are cheaper.
Yeah.
Platinum. Different Platinum, as I can speak with authority on. Not yeah, I'm still paying more than a Clan fan. We'll come on to that in a minute. But yeah,
but the owners around the league have got to be very, very careful, because yes, we get that there's rising costs and everything, but not all of that should be put on the fans. It's an easy thing. And I'm looking at Clan with a £2.50 tickets. Your fist bump zone. Oh, give it a break. These are things that, like, you should let little kids getting into the game for the first time, let them do it for free. It should be free. Things like that. You shouldn't be charging people for stuff like that. They're looking at the fans, and it's the whole cash cow mentality, and it's a very, very dangerous situation. I was expecting our tickets to be based on like Sheffield's and Cardiff's. I was expecting our tickets to go up by a little bit more than they have done. It's still more than I'd like, and I think Adam worked it out. It's about £1.12 or something more a game, but that's a significant rise. What I don't like with our season ticket prices is your renewals have gone up 13%, something like that. But
no. So yeah, you're sort of getting up towards 10 in some places, but yeah, but I know what you.
Tickets have only gone up by like 2.5%.
Yeah, so essentially, the percentage increase is more for renewals than it is for the new fans.
But that goes completely against my previous thoughts, that where you look at some teams, and Cardiff even came out and said it, they don't want so many season ticket holders because they make more from the day-to-day fans coming in.
Well, here's the thing.
That's probably why you're not allowed to get new season tickets in Platinum.
Yeah, no, 100%. They don't want new season tickets in Platinum because I think they generally could be I have felt in previous seasons that there has been an attitude where they've wanted to force us out and force us to go somewhere else because they do charge a pretty penny for the game day tickets, for the individual tickets. But obviously we're not going anywhere. We've all, collectively and singularly, as Omar well knows, kicked up a stink in terms of the fact that there was a rise anyway.
Andy listened. And that's so much fair play to him. He did listen.
Well, the thing is, I mean, I've looked at mine. I mean, I'm not worried about anybody knowing what I'm paying. So I paid. So versus what I paid to what I'm going to be paying this season is a £65 increase. However, my percentage increase is not the most. So what I'm paying versus what I paid last season versus what I paid this season. And versus somebody else in, say, like gold or silver, there's actually a bigger percentage increase for some people in gold and silver than there is for me. So that singularly looking at it in isolation, that 65 quid's a lot of money. But if I was sat somewhere else, I would potentially be looking at a bigger increase anyway.
Well, they have also brought in for, if you're all in, you can now arrange to pay that season ticket off over 9 months, as opposed to like the previous 4, 5, 6 months. So that I think that's a really good inclusion by them. I think they've done what they can within the realms of everything. Yes, it's a bit more, but again, the thing is, the cost of living's going up for everybody. My wages aren't going up alongside the cost of living, so in effect, I'm paying more for and earning less. So it's going to be a struggle. I'm not in a position where like a lot of people are. So I have an okay job that pays me enough to get by, but it's probably at the limit of what I would have expected as an increase, and I'll be interested to see the prices next year.
Well, I think it'll be interesting. Obviously the barometer, I think, will be renewals versus new season ticket holders. I think that's going to be an interesting. An interesting statistic. Right then, gentlemen, I think we've done it. I think we've probably got Kay through a 10-kilometre race.
I did have one thing I wanted to finish on, but unless anybody else has got AOB, can I just go? No, good. So I've missed a fair few games, in particular since the Continental Cup, through health reasons and what have you. I reached out to Lisa at the Panthers. And I just wanted to give her and the box office staff a massive shout out and a big thank you. They got back to me within 24 hours, and Lisa got back to me pretty much straight away within 24 hours, and had been in touch with the box office and said, look, thanks for letting us know, sorry to hear what you're going through, yada yada yada. We've worked with the box office and they've been able to relocate you. They'll give you a ring and sort it out. Absolutely. They didn't have to do that. They could have just said tough and left me high and dry, literally, because I wouldn't have been able to make the games. I don't know how I'm going to get up there for the cup final, but, we'll see. But I just wanted to give Lisa and the box office staff a big thank you for that, because they didn't have to. And it's just weird. It's just like, it turned out like last week I was in block 9 and I ended up sitting next to 2 people that we all know. And then tonight I've sat in towards the bottom of row G. I'm sat with a lad I used to play hockey with. So it's not been the scary loner thought that I would have been. And my sincerest thanks. So thanks for that.
So basically, we want to say thank you to Panthers and the Motorpoint Arena box office for Antoine Marie-Jean's World Tour. Right, thank you guys. I think we definitely need to put a pin in that, and we need to not. We keep saying this, but we need to not leave it as long to do this again. But
obviously a post-cup final one, probably.
Yes, I would say so. I think that's probably on the cards, but we'll make no promises because there are some people who actually hold us to task on these things. So we'll tentatively pencil it in. Right, thank you very much, guys. We'll do this all again soon. Thank you very much to you guys for listening. This has been another mammoth one for you to get your teeth into. Kay, I hope your run was really good. Paul, when you finally get to listen to this, I'm sure your next trig point's been ticked off. We will see everybody next time.
Up Everest, won't it?
Yeah, save this one for your Everest track, mate. Yeah, we'll do it all again soon. Thank you very much. From Ant.
Cheers.
From Adam.
We're still going to win the league.
And Paul.
Cheers.
And from me, TTFN. See you next time.